The crimson glow of the setting sun enveloped the hills, surrounding the ranch, unfurling like a fiery tapestry against the dimming light. Lily leaned against the barn door, clutching an old camera that had long been forsaken. Her gaze was distant, fixed on the empty expanse before her. That camera had once been a part of her, a fragment of her identity before she lost herself. Now, as it rested in her hands, it felt like a relic of forgotten dreams stirring back to life. Moonlight, the white horse with a coat that gleamed silver under the fading daylight, stood silently in its stall, its large dark eyes reflecting the golden hues of dusk. Every so often it shifted, letting out soft, faint sounds as though to pull Lily back into the present. But her mind had wandered far, caught in the labyrinth of old memories and emotions she could not quite name. A faint sound broke the stillness behind her, the soft creak of footsteps on wood. She turned sharply, her breath catching in her throat. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling, slightly echoing in the stillness of the barn. Silence reigned, save for the wind that whistled through the cracks of the weathered beams, bringing with it the chill of the encroaching night. As her heartbeat steadied, her eyes acclimated to the dim light, revealing Bash leaning effortlessly against one of the sturdy pillars. His gaze, unwavering, was locked onto her. "Why are you still out here so late?" he asked, his voice low and smooth, laced with curiosity, yet underscored by a quiet concern. Bash had a knack for appearing out of nowhere, a presence that always managed to stir something within her. As if he had been a silent observer all along, she felt his presence enveloping her. "I don't know," she murmured, a faint smile gracing her lips, yet it bore the burden of countless unvoiced feelings. Bash stepped closer, his sharp, penetrating gaze seeming to pierce through her very soul. He remained silent, but the intensity of his stare dismantled every defense she had meticulously constructed. The silence that hung between them was not awkward. It was thick with the weight of unspoken truths, heavy with the things neither dared to articulate. "You still have that camera, Bash," said suddenly, his eyes flicking to the weathered device in her hands. "It's like you're holding on to a piece of your past." His words were deliberate, each one brushing against a corner of her soul she had long tried to hide. "Sometimes the past is all I have," Lily murmured, her voice soft but laden with emotion. "Everything else, none of it feels like mine anymore." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the ache of loss, like a scar healed on the surface but still tender underneath. Bash moved closer, the space between them charged with unspoken understanding. Between them shrinking until only a breath separated them. "Then why don't you take back what you've lost?" he asked, his voice both a challenge and an invitation, daring her to break free from the invisible chains binding her. Before Lily could respond, the low rumble of a truck engine cut through the tension like a blade. They both turned their heads toward the sound, toward the dirt road leading to the ranch. Headlights pierced the growing darkness, casting long shifting shadows against the barn walls. It was Caleb, her husband. His familiar truck rolled slowly up the gravel path, its beams slicing through the stillness, illuminating the barn like an unwelcome spotlight. "He's home earlier than expected," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible and trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Bash said nothing, but his expression darkened, his posture stiffening. Caleb never returned unannounced, and this sudden arrival carried a sense of foreboding that neither of them could ignore. For a moment, time seemed to halt Lily's grip. As the camera wavered, it slipped slightly from her grasp, suddenly feeling more burdensome than ever. Her pulse quickened as Caleb's truck came to a halt, the engine dying with an ominous finality. The barn door creaked loudly on its hinges, As Caleb pushed it open, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the dimness, sweeping over the stalls, before landing squarely on Lily's face. "Still out here?" Caleb's voice was calm, almost casual, yet to Lily it bore the weight of an unspoken accusation. She instinctively took a step back. Instinctively her eyes darted toward Bash, yet he remained still, his gaze unwavering. Caleb's arrival shattered the fragile sanctuary they had shared, leaving Lily standing in the midst of an unspoken storm. She could feel Bash's silent presence behind her, strong and steady, though his shoulders had tensed, as if bracing for a blow. In that moment, everything seemed to shift. Caleb's light lingered on her face, his expression unreadable, and Lily, with her heart pounding in her chest, realized that the life she had so carefully constructed was now hanging by a thread. The secrets she had buried and the emotions she had tried to suppress could no longer remain hidden. Lily sat quietly on the wooden steps of the house, the pale moonlight spilling across the open fields like a silken veil. In her hands, the old camera Bash had mentioned earlier rested heavily, as though it carried the weight of memories she had long buried. The gentle breeze rustled the dry grass and whispered through the trees, yet her mind was elsewhere, drawn back to another time, another life she had left behind. In the days of her youth, when passion coursed through her veins, the world appeared boundless, overflowing with possibilities. Lily had emerged as a luminous talent in photography, celebrated for her ability to seize the unrefined, authentic moments of both nature and humanity. Her photographs transcended mere visuals. They carved emotions deep into the hearts of those who beheld them, revealing the unvoiced truths that often slip through the cracks of everyday life. Her work graced the walls of esteemed galleries, each image bathed in golden light, meticulously framed to draw the eye. It was within the confines of one such gallery that she encountered Caleb. Caleb was a young man ambitious and overflowing with confidence and charisma. He attended her exhibition not merely attracted by the art, but also enchanted by Lily herself. He bought one of her most striking pieces, a photograph of an untamed field illuminated by the soft glow of dusk. "It's like you," he said, standing before the image, beautiful, wild, and full of mystery. Those words stirred something deep within Lily's heart, and it wasn't long before their relationship blossomed into a whirlwind of passion, with Caleb his. Lily's unwavering resolve enveloped her in a sense of visibility, affection, and stability that was previously foreign to her. He persuaded her to relinquish the unpredictability of an artist's existence in favor of a secure future alongside him. He crafted vibrant visions of a grand home, a tranquil ranch, and a life unburdened by anxiety, where their joy would thrive without interruption. At that moment, youthful and filled with belief in love, Lily acquiesced. She sacrificed everything: her career, her friendships, and the dazzling allure of the art world, embracing the life on the ranch. With Caleb, it felt like stepping into the promise of a new beginning. At first, everything was fresh and hopeful. She learned to care for the horses, to tend the flowers, and to immerse herself in the quiet calm Caleb had promised. But over time, Lily realized that calm was not the same as fulfillment. Caleb's work began to consume him, pulling him further away. His business ventures demanded more of his attention, leaving her alone in the vast silence of the ranch. The life she had imagined became a hollow echo of what once was. What she had hoped for began to settle heavily upon her, a reminder of all she had sacrificed. And then there was Bash. Lily's mind drifted back to their initial encounter during her last years in college, when she was still that wide-eyed, fiery girl who believed in endless possibilities. Bash was a free-spirited artist, a man who thrived on adventure and delighted in breaking boundaries. He often quipped, "Life's just a giant canvas, and the best art comes when you tear through the frame." Bash was the first person who made she felt truly untethered, unburdened by rules or expectations. The two of them shared wild, carefree days, camping in secluded places, chasing the perfect light for their photographs, capturing the world in its raw, unfiltered beauty. Bash was a fire fierce and untamed, and just like fire, he couldn't stay in one place. When Lily chose the stability Caleb offered Bash, disappeared without a word, leaving behind an emptiness in her heart, a lingering ache she had never admitted to, not even to herself. And now, a sigh. That's it. Years later, he returned, stepping back into her life, with the intensity of a tempest, conjuring memories she had fought so fiercely to erase. In the stillness of the night, Lily found herself grappling with doubt. Had she truly made the right decision in abandoning her past? The life she now led with Bash was secure, yet it lacked the joy she had once envisioned. Bash, with his wild spirit and unyielding freedom, served as a poignant reminder of the woman she used to be, a woman unafraid. Unburdened by duty or constraint, the rhythmic sound of hooves on the dirt outside the barn interrupted her reverie. She lifted her gaze, drawn to Moonlight, who stood patiently in the paddock, its large, curious eyes observing her, as if inquiring about her thoughts. Slowly, Lily Rose approached the horse, and when her hand rested on Moonlight's soft, silken coat, a wave of emotion surged through her. Something within her was shifting, awakening, as if Bash's reappearance had swept away the dust that had settled over her spirit. Her soul stirred, yet deep within, Lily understood that this transformation would not unfold without struggle. Bash was not merely a spectre from her past. He embodied a fragment of the self she had long interred. His reappearance was not just a haunting echo, but a formidable challenge, one that compelled her to confront her losses and reevaluate her desires for the future. The golden hues of the setting sun sprawled across the fields, casting a warm glow over the distant hills. Lily leaned against the fence, her eyes tracing the path of Moonlight as he galloped freely across the open paddock. The white horse stood as a beacon of liberty, an embodiment of the freedom Lily had yearned for, yet never fully grasped. The sound of footsteps behind her broke the spell of her reverie. Bash appeared, his familiar aura of calm confidence enveloping him, though a flicker of quiet concern danced in his eyes. He positioned himself beside her, leaning against the fence, their shoulders almost touching. "Why do you always watch Moonlight like that?" he inquired, his voice low and steady, yet tinged with an inquisitive edge, as if he sought to unravel the depths of her thoughts. Reaching into a deeper part of her, it was as if she could see herself reflected in him. Lily let out a faint chuckle, though it lacked warmth, perhaps because he possessed something she did not, freedom. She turned to look at Bash, her eyes distant, yet tinged with defiance, as if daring him to disagree. But Bash remained silent, merely nodding in acknowledgement, a gesture that carried a weight far greater than words. "You don't have to live like this," he said, his voice rough yet resolute. "You don't have to keep yourself locked in a cage just because you think it was the only place you belong." His words cut through her carefully constructed walls like a blade. Before she could muster a response, Bash had already turned, striding toward the barn, where he had been tending to old equipment. Lily stood frozen, engulfed in a tempest of emotions and thoughts she dared not name. Later that night, Caleb called to inform her he would be staying in the city for a few more days due to an unexpected meeting. Lily replied with a terse "okay." Before hanging up, she had grown accustomed to his work, taking precedence over all else, including her. Yet tonight, the emptiness of the house, felt more suffocating than ever. The silent rooms and the oppressive darkness seemed to engulf her completely. Unable to endure the stillness, Lily grabbed a sweater and stepped outside, feeling an irresistible pull toward the barn, the one place that had always felt more like home than the house itself. Moonlight stood in his stall, his large dark eyes shimmering in the dim light as if welcoming her, but this time she wasn't ready to acknowledge him. Alone, Bash stood near a small oil lamp, meticulously repairing a broken bridle. He looked up as she approached, a faint smile gracing his face. "Can't sleep?" he asked softly, his tone gentle yet curious. Lily simply shook her head and moved toward the moonlight, her hand brushing over the horse's smooth coat. She wasn't sure why she had come here, but something deep within her had compelled her. "Do you always work this late?" Lily inquired, her voice light but tinged with nervousness as she tried to steer the conversation. The conversation drifted away from the tangled emotions coiling within her. Bash shrugged his gaze, lingering on her a moment longer than usual. "I like working when it's quiet. What about you? Why do you enjoy being out here at night?" Lily looked up, her eyes meeting his in a moment of unspoken understanding. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was charged, as if an invisible thread was drawing them closer. Bash set the bridle down and took a slow step toward her. She didn't retreat, though her heart began to race, not from fear, but from something else entirely, from a feeling she couldn't control. "You don't deserve to feel this lonely," Bash said, his voice low and steady, as though he feared disturbing the fragile moment between them. "You deserve so much more." Lily felt her breath catch. His words reached into a part of her that Caleb had never touched. She wanted to argue, to tell him that everything was fine, that she was fine, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she found herself leaning toward him, as if it was no longer a choice, but an inevitability. In that moment, Bash raised. With a hand gently cupping her face, Lily closed her eyes, unable to restrain herself. She was aware she was crossing a line, a boundary she wasn't certain she could ever retreat from. Yet, with the warmth of his hand on her skin and the intensity of his gaze, she experienced a sensation she hadn't felt in years. She felt seen, understood, and for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, alive. The kiss that followed was neither planned nor explained. It simply unfolded as naturally as breathing. It transcended mere connection between two people. It was the shattering of chains. That had bound her for too long. Lily didn't think about Caleb or the consequences. All she could think about was the undeniable truth that in that fleeting moment, she felt like herself again. A sudden noise in the distance shattered the fragile stillness, pulling them both back to reality. Lily jerked away, her eyes wide with panic. Bash stepped back as well, though his eyes remained locked on hers, steady and reassuring. "Lily," he whispered, his voice soft, almost pleading. But she shook her head and turned hurrying out of the barn stood silent, a witness to the unspoken words that hung heavily in the air. As she fled toward the house, her heart racing with a tumult of fear and uncertainty. She was acutely aware that she had ventured into perilous ground, yet the undeniable spark that flickered within her was a flame she found both exhilarating and terrifying. In the kitchen, Lily sat her fingers mindlessly, stirring a cup of coffee that had long lost its warmth, the dim glow of the overhead lamp casting soft shadows around her. Little could alleviate the oppressive weight pressing down on her chest. Caleb had returned the night before, and from the moment he walked through the door, something about him had shifted. Gone was the usual indifference, replaced by a quiet, scrutinizing presence, as if he were trying to see through her, searching for something she was desperate to keep hidden. "Is there something you want to tell me?" Kay's voice cut through the silence, low and sharp, like a blade slicing the air. Lily flinched, lifting her head to meet his gaze. He stood by. The door swung open. His tie-askew briefcase still clutched in hand, yet his gaze remained fixed on her. "What do you mean?" she asked, striving to keep her voice steady, even as she felt her composure begin to fray. She understood precisely what he was insinuating, the truth bubbling just beneath the surface of his words. Caleb advanced slowly, setting his briefcase down on the table with a heavy thud that made her flinch. "Don't play dumb, Lily. You've changed lately, always at the barn, always avoiding me." And then Bash's name slipped from Caleb's lips. Like an accusation, a dagger aimed straight at her. Lily felt the blood in her veins turn cold. "What about Bash?" she managed to ask, feigning ignorance, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. She was losing control. Caleb leaned on the table, his hands pressing into the wood as he leaned closer, his eyes blazing with an anger she hadn't seen before. "I hired a private investigator, Lily. I have pictures of you and Bash in the barn." His voice was low, menacing, each word hammering down on her like the world collapsing around her. She shot to her feet, the chair screeching against the floor. You followed me!" she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of her fear. Caleb straightened, his expression cold and unyielding. "I had every right. This is our marriage. Did you think I'd let you betray me without doing something about it?" Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. She couldn't form the words to defend herself, couldn't explain the truth she had betrayed him, not just in action, but in the very depths of her heart, in the fragments of her soul she had long abandoned. Years had passed since she last felt any bond with Caleb, no trace of partnership lingering between them. Yet, in the face of his fury, she recognized the extent to which everything had unraveled. A sudden knock at the door shattered the heavy silence, causing both to startle. Caleb's gaze sharpened with suspicion as he approached the door, pulling it open to reveal Bash. His expression was composed, but determination flickered in his eyes. "I need to talk to you," Bash stated, his tone steady yet laced with urgency. Flickering beneath the surface, Caleb fixed his gaze on Bash, as if confronting his most formidable foe. "You've got some nerve showing up here." He spat, his voice thick with warning. Yet Bash remained steadfast. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here for Lily." The color drained from Lily's face as she stood frozen, her eyes darting between Caleb and Bash, unable to comprehend the impending confrontation. Caleb turned back to her, his expression darkening with each fleeting moment. "So it's true," he said, his voice low and venomous. "You won't even deny it." "Will you enough?" Caleb Bash interjected, stepping inside before Caleb could block him. He positioned himself between Caleb and Lily, as if shielding her. "You don't understand her. You've never truly seen her for who she is. She doesn't deserve this." Tears welled in Lily's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She didn't want to appear weak, not in front of these two men who seemed to be fighting over pieces of her that she wasn't even sure belonged to her anymore. "Stop it," she said, her voice cracking. "Of you, just stop." Neither of them listened. Caleb stepped closer, his face flushed with anger. "You think you know her better than I do. You think you have any right to be here to say this." Caleb's voice rose, the tension boiling over. Bash didn't flinch. "I'm not here for rights. I'm here because she deserves to be happy." The room grew unbearably tense, as though a bomb were ticking down, waiting to explode. Lily stood in the middle, her heart tearing itself apart between the weight of responsibility and the pull of desire. Desire intertwined with the life she had constructed and the one she had laid to rest, leaving her in a state of uncertainty. Yet deep down, she understood that when this night drew to a close, everything would irrevocably change. Lily stood motionless in the barn, her trembling hands gliding over the sleek coat of moonlight. The familiar scents of wood hay and sweat hung in the air, but now the atmosphere felt denser than ever. Bash's final words echoed in her mind, reverberating like a bell that refused to cease its tolling. "I'm here because you deserve to be happy." His words resonated with a raw sincerity that lingered in the silence, a force that obliterated everything she believed about herself. Caleb departed not in forgiveness, but in retreat. He could not endure the sight of her any longer, nor witness the unraveling of their shared existence. His final glance was a tumultuous blend of anger and heartbreak, as if Lily had not only fractured his heart, but also dismantled the meticulously crafted facade of the perfect wife he had clung to for years. Before he vanished, he delivered a single piercing sentence that froze her in her tracks. "You have to decide your life from here." Now the barn door creaked open, and Bash stepped inside. His footsteps were soft, yet bore an undeniable weight. He remained silent at first, simply standing there, his deep, steady gaze fixed on her. It felt as if he could see through all the layers she had desperately tried to construct around herself. "Are you okay?" He finally asked, his voice low, but imbued with quiet concern. Lily didn't respond immediately. She turned to meet his eyes, realizing he was waiting for something, a signal, a word, anything, to indicate that she was still there. She felt poised to take a step toward him. Yet uncertainty coiled within her, a tangled mass of emotions, like a ball of yarn, pulled too tightly in too many directions. "I don't know," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. "I don't know what to do." Bash moved closer, his actions deliberate and unhurried, his presence a source of comfort without any pressure. "You don't have to know right now," he said gently. "You just have to do what makes you feel like yourself. I'm not here to make you choose. I'm here because I want you to be happy." His words welled tears in Lily's eyes. For the first time in years, she felt a flicker of permission to be vulnerable, to embrace her imperfections. Bash raised a hand, hovering just above her, leaving the choice entirely in her hands. She could decide whether to invite him to stay. "Bash," Lily began, but the words stumbled on her lips. Uncertainty clouded her thoughts. She wasn't sure what to say next, or if she could offer him what he sought. The weight of her past with Caleb lingered, a shadow that made her question whether she was ready to release everything that had once defined her, even as their relationship now felt like little more than a distant echo, than fractured pieces of a long-broken bond. Bash smiled faintly, a bittersweet smile filled with understanding. "I'll go," he said quietly, "but if you need me, I'll be here." He turned and walked slowly out of the barn, leaving Lily alone with the moonlight and the whirlwind of thoughts in her mind. She stood there, watching his figure disappear into the dim light outside. A part of her wanted to run after him to call him back, but another part of her held her in place, tethering her to the past like an invisible chain. Not yet, she thought, as that night Lily lay in her empty bedroom, her gaze fixed on the ceiling. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, bringing with it the chill of something new beginning. Sleep eluded her, yet she hesitated to close her eyes. Everything had shifted, and she questioned whether she possessed the courage to adapt alongside it. The following morning, Caleb was gone. No farewell, no explanations, just a set of keys and a small note left on the kitchen table. "The ranch is yours." Lily picked up the note, a strange mix of relief washing over her. As emptiness settled in her chest, she stepped outside, where the soft light of dawn spilled over the fields, painting the dewy grass in shades of gold. Moonlight stood in the paddock, his large eyes fixed on her as though he understood something she didn't. Lily grabbed her old camera, and walked toward the horse. She lifted the camera, looking through the viewfinder, and for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of something familiar, a spark of hope, a taste of freedom. She didn't know if she would ever go back to Bash. She didn't know if Caleb might never forgive her yet in this moment. She understood one truth she had to begin with herself. With whatever remained, the camera clicked softly as she captured her first photo in years. In that fleeting instant, Lily sensed that this could be the dawn of a new chapter, a chapter she would pen alone, even if it brought with it unanswered questions and uncertainties, poised to reveal themselves.